Welcome back, YouTube. Sensei Domino here. Welcome to the Spine Ticks After Party. Got some great stuff to share with you tonight. I have a few eBay pickups. I'll be showing a complete box of 200 weighing machine tickets by a company called Peerless scales that I believe came out in 1954. And I'll also be showing another group of the 1981 Topps baseball starter set that I started showing last week. But let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank everybody that popped into my premiere early this morning. I decided to try something new and created a slideshow showing baseball cards and set it to relaxing music, and I just thought it would be a great idea. I enjoy watching, the nature videos with the soothing music, after a long day's work, and I hadn't seen anybody do it with sports cards or non-sports cards, so I thought it would be a good idea. I'd like to thank Maiden. I got the idea watching his fantastic AI live streams, and he helped me out quite a bit learning how to do this. I sent him several messages troubleshooting the programs, but I can't thank him enough for the support with that, and the support that I had today during the premiere was absolutely amazing. I think I was over 100 views for the 6-hour stream, and I just can't thank everybody enough for taking the time to check it out, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I love the feedback that I was getting, and I'd like to continue to do this in the future. My goal is to try to create another one of these every week or two. It is kind of time consuming, so it'll be time permitting. But at the very least, I'd like to put one of these out every couple weeks. And I don't want to put a set time on it because I'd like to try to do it during a time when people aren't going live. Friends and whatnot, because I don't want to stream on top of them out of respect. So just going to kind of play it by ear when I decide to release it. This morning there was nobody on, so I decided to pop it on. But it is a 6-hour stream, so I'll do the best that I can. But if somebody decides to go live while it's running, I definitely apologize for that. But hopefully you enjoyed checking it out. If you haven't, I'd love if you checked it out and give me some feedback on what you thought. It's definitely a work in progress. I'm still learning the program, and if I'm being picky, I didn't like how some of the titles of the cards were showing up. It seemed like some of them were a little hard to see, so I definitely like to work on that in the future. But overall, I was happy with how it worked out, and can't wait to start on another one. I should start another one tomorrow. So anyway, let me go ahead and show some of the cards that I picked up recently. A lot of these are football. So let me get my little notepad so I get all the years correct. Most of them I know, though. So we'll start with this 1957 Topps Lou Creekmer, Hall of Famer. Little off-center, but it's really sharp. Love the look of this card. And I'm a big fan of this set as well. Just love the design. The multiple images. It's great looking cards. All right, next we have another Hall of Famer. This is a 1958 Topps. This is a Les Richter. And he is a football Hall of Famer, but he was also involved with NASCAR later in his life. And I have a few Max cards of his from, I think, 1991. So those were kind of cool to see. I was not aware that he was involved in NASCAR. But definitely a fantastic football player. And I love the black frame that they put on this card. It just looks fantastic. And the back is pretty nice. They didn't, at least it looks like they didn't rub a coin on the back of that. So always like finding those. Try to avoid the ones that have been scratched. All right, next. Another Hall of Famer, we have Rosie Brown. This is a 1965 Philadelphia. Just love the image on this one. Looks like he's really excited to get his picture taken, and I love the background with the trees. Just a great image. And I think this one's really nicely centered. Little off, not too bad. Just a gorgeous looking card. Next, I have quite a few cards from the, not quite a few, I guess four, cards from the 1967 Philadelphia set. I bought all of these from the same seller, just bundled. We have a 1967 Philadelphia Willie Wood, Hall of Famer. Little off center, minor corner wear, but not bad. Back looks pretty nice. I believe I have his rookie card somewhere. Next, big fan of this guy, Mel Renfro, another Hall of Famer. This one's definitely a little off top to bottom. Corners were a little sharper than the Willie Wood, though. Right, next, this is the second attempt at trying to get this card. I bought this from ComC, and there was like literally a gigantic crease all the way down the center of the card, but you couldn't see it in the image, and you didn't see it until you kind of tilted it. So this one looks fantastic. Really happy to get this. Again, another Hall of Famer, Tommy McDonald. Spent a little time with the Dallas Cowboys. Great looking card. Love the old Rams uniforms with the blue and the white. They look fantastic. And the last one from the 67 Philadelphia set, another Hall of Famer, Bobby Mitchell. Another great looking card. Pretty sharp, pretty well centered. Nice looking example. All right, next, moving into the 70s. Picked up one card from the 1971 top set. Love this set. Love the different color borders. I just think they look fantastic. In a way, they sort of remind me of the 1975 Topps baseball, but not quite. But I do enjoy this set. And it's Jan Stenerud, another Hall of Famer. This one's definitely a little off center. It's kind of moved this way a little bit. But it's really sharp. Really happy with the condition of this card. As I've said before, I'll sort of sacrifice centering for sharp corners and nice edges. And that was the case with this one. And it was a nice price too, so happy to pick this up. And next, huge fan of this guy. As many of you know, I went to the University of North Texas, and me and Joe Green put the Mean Green on the map for all intents and purposes. The greatest athlete to come out of the school. And huge fan of Joe Green. And so I'd like to complete his player run and just kind of slowly chipping away at it. But really like the look of the 78 Topps. Decided to pick it up. Most of his cards are really cheap. Even his rookie card, I think, is significantly undervalued. And that's definitely on my want list. So you should see that before the end of the year. But yeah, for now, just kind of picking up some of his mid to late career cards when I can, when I like the condition, the centering, because they're so cheap. You can be picky with these and pretty much find what you're looking for. All right, that was the last football card that I had. I did pick up one baseball card. It's the 1974 Topps Bill Lee, the Spaceman. I would like to send this out and get it TTM'd. Fantastic TTMer. I love that he writes space and then puts the year that he signed the card on there. In this case, it would be 2024. I have one from 2022, and I have another one from 2023. And I'd like to get another one for 2024. But I just love the imagery on this card, and it was in fantastic shape, so I decided to pick it up. This will be the next one I send out to him. Now, Bill Lee is kind of interesting in his kind of signing habits. He will not sign multiple cards where he's with the same team. So if you send him multiple cards where he's with the Red Sox or the Expos, or I know he was like in the senior baseball league. If you send him multiple cards, he'll only sign one. But if you send one from each team, he'll actually sign them all. And so far, I've just been working on some of his earlier stuff. And so I think all of the cards that I have from him are from when he was with the Red Sox. But I would definitely like to pick up some of his other cards. to get signed in the future, kind of yearly, so I can get the different dates on them. But huge fan of Bill the Spaceman Lee. Fantastic player, great ambassador for the game. You know, just last year he was still playing. So just a great athlete, great individual. So happy to get this, and hopefully there's some ink on it in the future. All right, the last one that I'll be showing, and I'm not sure, but this has got to be one of the very few billiards cards that I've ever shown on my channel. I know I did get some TTMs back from Allison Fisher, but outside of that, I can't really think of any others that I've shown. I definitely want to get the Black Widow, Jeanette Lee's cards, some of hers. I know she's not doing very well, so I probably won't send them off to TTM. She was a fantastic signer, but like I said, she's not doing very well, so definitely don't want to send anything to her to get autographed, but would like to get those into the collection one day. But this is way, way, way earlier than that. This card came out in 1910, and I got to give Ryan at History Through Cards a shout out for this, because either last year or 2 years ago, he did a fantastic video on this individual, and I had never heard of him at the time. And you know, by the time the video was done, I was absolutely fascinated by this guy. So sort of been, you know, as I like to do, sort of been opportunistic with my purchases over the last couple years, but one of these popped up, and I loved the price, loved the condition, and decided to pick it up. And so now I have one of his cards in the collection. I'll just give you a little bit of information on him real quick before I reveal the name. But he was basically considered one of the greatest billiards players ever. Billiards Digest ranked him #1 on the top 50 greatest players of the 20th century. And he actually performed in front of President Taft in 1911, which would be the year after this card was released. And so let me go ahead and reveal who it is. And this is Willie Hoppy. And this is just a gorgeous looking card. And I believe he has a couple other cards from the set. At the very least, one more card from the set where he's kind of taking a shot, leaning over the table. And I would love to get that in the future, but I just love this image right here. Love this card. Really happy to pick this up. This is a 1910 Mecca cigarettes. This is a Mecca series of champions pool and billiards players. Just a great, great, great looking card. But to tell you how great Willie Hoppy was, he actually won 51 world titles between 1906 and 1952. And in 1952, he decided to kind of hang it up and become an ambassador of the sport. And from what I was reading, he has some fantastic works that he's written that are definitely worth a read if you're a fan of billiards. But really happy to pick this card up. Just a gorgeous looking card, gorgeous condition, and he's one of the greatest ever. So really happy to get this. All right, so that's all of the eBay singles that I've picked up recently. All right, next, this was definitely an opportunistic purchase. Now, as many of you know that have watched my my channel for any amount of time, that I'm a huge fan of collecting actors and actresses cards, especially like pre-war. I don't have very much post-war. Not that I'm not interested in it. I just haven't found any, you know, price-wise that I was interested in. And I usually go for the sets, you know, and those are much more affordable, and you kind of get more kind of bang for the buck, I guess. But this was exactly the type of thing that I was looking for. Unfortunately, it's really hard to pinpoint when this actually came out. So let me just tell you a little bit about Peerless scales. Beginning in the late 1920s, they started producing actors and actresses cards with their scales, their weighing scales. And these would be in like drugstores, you know, amusement parks, places like that. And you would put a penny in the machine, and it would give you your, I guess on one side it would have a picture of an actor or an actress, and on the other side it would give you your weight and a fortune. And so this one right here, I've seen it listed as 40 to 59 Peerless Engravo tints, and that's listed on Trading Card Database. But if I'm trying to get it a little more narrow, most people list this as a set that came out in 1954. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is from 1954. I'm sure I could narrow it even more if I start looking at the careers of some of the actors and actresses that are within this set. But this is really cool because it came with the entire box. And so this is the box. Peerless Weighing and Vending Machine Corporation. This package contains 200 weighing machine tickets, guaranteed count, value $2. I wish I had paid $2. But this, I was actually thinking the set is actually 40 cards. So theoretically, I could have actually had 5 complete sets in here. Unfortunately, it didn't quite line up like that. I think I ended up with 4 full complete sets, and then there were some other cards that actually had 6 of them, and some of them that only had 4, so I couldn't complete the 5th set. But there are some great names in here. Let me go ahead and open up this box, try to be careful with it. But just look at that. Look at that. Every single one of the 200 weighing scale cards are in this box. So let me go ahead and pull these out. And I do have all of these in order. So each one of them will have the duplicates one after the other. And so let me just kind of show you these. And I will show the complete set, but I'm going to try to be careful with these because for the most part, I don't believe that these have been touched by too many people. Now, they do show a little bit of age. There's a little bit of browning along the edges, but that very well could have just been, based on the age of these and how they were stored. But go ahead and start with Anne Jeffries. And these are really thick. You see, I don't know how well that's showing up, but these cards are really thick compared to your regular card. And here's the back of one of them. Again, it's got the Engravo tints right there. So at least I know that those are what these are called. But then we've got right here a little fortune. Your great faith in people proves you are sincere. So that's the fortune on this one. And I believe that they would print your weight right here. But none of these have ever been used, so these are all blank right there in that spot. But just great looking cards. And I know Tim Incognito showed a little bit of interest in buying one of these sets from me, but for now, I think I'm going to hold on to all of them because I just love that the entire box is complete, and there can't be too many of these out there. I do see singles of these sell quite often, so I wouldn't say that they're scarce, but I do think there's some scarcity in having one of these complete in the box. So I don't know if I want to break that up, at least right away. But here are a couple other Anne Jeffries. Just kind of show you these. Here's number 4. So there were 4 Anne Jeffries. So not quite a 5th set on that one. Next we have Celeste Holm. Now some of these, the contrast on the imagery is a little fuzzy, like it wasn't quite lined up correctly when they were being printed. But some of these really look nice. So there's Celeste Holm. 3, 4. I'm not sure if there's another one in here. No, that looks like that's the last one of Celeste Holm. Let me get another group of these. Right here is Fran Warren. right there. And on this one, it actually says RCA Victor Recording Artist. So I didn't mention this, but I guess there are some musicians, recording artists within this set, not just actors and actresses. Apologize for that. There's another one. 3 and 4. And here's a big one. I'll get to that in just a second. Huge fan of Ginger Rogers. Just a great image. Look at that. I do think there were only 4 Ginger Rogers in here. Yeah. Next we have Tony Martin. Actually, let me take a look. I don't even know if they're the same fortune on each of these that are duplicates, but it does look like they are. Let me see. Is there another one in here? Yeah. So here's another one. Yeah, so I guess the fortune is the same on all 4 of the cards, so it isn't sort of randomized. I just love the look of these cards. Another stack. Next we have Faye Emerson. Kind of a little out of focus. There we go. All right. There's another big star right there, Claudette Colbert. Let me move these out of the way. I think they might be messing with the focus. I actually think my mat is doing that. There we go. It looks like I put all of the cards that I had 4 of at the front, because that's all I'm seeing are 4 each. Next we have Dane Clark. Next, we have Don McNeil. Next, we have Robert Cummings. Again, I'll go ahead and show you the back of this. Collect engravitins, portraits of movie stars. And this one says, you have clear, forceful vision, and empty dreams have no place in your makeup. Peerless Weighing and Vending Machine Corporation, Litho, USA. All right, let me move this off to the side so I don't sort of knock it over. Stack's getting pretty big. some of these out of here. All right, so that might be a little easier to work with. There we go. All right, next we have Peggy Wood. All right, so this is the first one with 5. So until we get to the cards with 6, all of these should have 5 in them. You might have seen the next one, the legendary Gene Kelly. And I don't believe that I had a Gene Kelly card until getting these. So this was definitely one of the ones that I was excited to get. And it was nice that there were 5 of them. Next, we have Betty Furness, I believe. Sorry about the focus. There we go. Even the image is a little off on this one. Next we have June Allison. Next we have Robert Taylor. All right, move these off to the side. All right, next we have Jane Powell. Next we have Janet Leigh. Metro Goldwyn Mayer. Sorry about the focus. Let me move this one off to the side. Hopefully that helps. There we go. Having some focus issues. Been a while since I've had any focus issues on this phone, so I don't know what's going on today. Maybe it's the time of day I'm recording this, which is definitely a little later than I usually do. hopefully at the very least you're getting a pretty good idea of what the card looks like. All right, next we have Dick Powell. Next, I'm pretty sure I didn't have a card of Perry Como, so this was kind of cool. RCA Victor Starr. Great image. Next, we have Irene Dunn. This one's a little out of focus, too. Seems like the cards that are out of focus, the camera's trying to get them in focus, but the cards are out of focus, so it's not going to be able to, and I think that's probably the problem we're dealing with here. There are definitely a few of these that are a little off. Next, we have Ava Gardner. Fantastic actress. I move this out of the way. Next, we have George Montgomery. Next, we have Margaret Whiting. Not really familiar with her. Capitol recording artist. Next, we have Johnny Mac Brown. Monogram pictures. Next, we have Esther Williams. And I don't believe I had any of her cards either. So nice to get this. It's a great image. Next, we have Van Johnson. And this is definitely a big one in this set. Unfortunately, every one of these is out of focus, so it's a bit of a shame. I don't believe I have an Elizabeth Taylor card. I have tried to win several of them over the past couple years, but her cards definitely sell for a little bit. So I just keep missing them. But glad to have these at the very least, and we'll definitely try to pick up a couple in the future. This one's really out of focus. That almost hurts your eyes. This was a little disappointing. Almost feel like, at the very least, with all of these being printed at the same time, something was off of alignment. And curious what some of the other ones look like. See if they're all like that. This is a Catherine Grayson. All right. Next, we have Stan Kenton. Camera didn't have much trouble with this one. Next, we have Dinah Shore. Definitely didn't have any of her cards. Really happy to get these. Next, we have Barbara Britton. Here we go. There's actually 6 of these. And that one's definitely a little dirty. So I believe the rest of these that I'll be showing should have 6 each. But we'll see. Next we have Robert Young, or Roland Young, sorry. Yeah, 6 of this one. Next we have June Havoc. Next we have Ann Southern. All right, this is another nice one. Eva Gabor. Definitely didn't have any of her cards. Should have 6 of these. That one's a little dirty. That one's really dirty. Maybe maybe just the cardboard sort of turned color over the years. I'm not really sure. Next we have Mindy Carson. Some of these are definitely dirtier looking than others. Next we have Lisa Kirk. Actually, I think there were 7 of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there were only 6. Thought there were 7. All right. The last group here, we have Frances Langford, ABC TV star. Next we have Gloria Swanson. And the last card is Jane Pickens. All right, so that's all 200 of the cards. Engravo Tints by Peerless Scales. Hopefully you enjoyed really seeing that. I feel really fortunate to have found that complete box because, again, there can't be too many of those out there. So just kind of right place, right time. And it wasn't a buy it now. It was actually an auction. So, definitely had luck on my side to be able to win that. And win it for probably less than it should have gone for, because I've actually seen the 40 card set on eBay. And, if I have 4 complete sets, then I definitely did really well compared to what the one complete set was selling for. Now, asking, for a certain price and it's selling are 2 totally different things. So I don't really have any sold to compare it to, but still feel like I got a really good deal on that. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing that. All right, give me one quick second to put these back in the box. I don't want to accidentally knock these over. So just give me a little bit of time to do that. Apologize for the sort of dead air. All right, so the last thing I'll be showing in this video is another group of the 1981 Topps Baseball starter set that I picked up at this point probably 2 months ago. Finally getting around to showing it. As I showed in the last video, I sort of left placeholders throughout this that I'll be replacing in the future. But one thing that I did do for this week's cards is last week I was showing all the duplication And so you were seeing some nicer cards and then some like real beaters. So at the very least, with this group, you'll only be seeing one of each card, and the card that you're seeing is, in my mind, the one that's in the best condition of the cards that I had. So let's go ahead and get started. Just like last week, I'll show, a couple of the backs early on, and then after that, I'll just show just the fronts because the backs are very similar. Yeah, so we have Claudell Washington. This card's definitely nice and sharp. Next we have Tom Paquette. This one definitely has a little more corner wear than I like on a card, especially one that came out in the 1980s. So that's got to be one that I'll replace in the future. But this Rick Langford looks pretty nice. Next we have Bob McClure. Last week I got through card number 150. I think I had planned to do at least 200, but time kind of got away from me, and didn't want to go too much over an hour. Or I think I might have been over an hour and 15 minutes. So decided to kind of shorten that. But at the very least today, I'd like to get through at least card 400, and that's not every card. Because I'm definitely missing quite a few. So, but that should get to the point to where I can show the last group next week or the week after. So, next we have John Wathen, who was a manager for the team for a while. Next we have Brian Doyle. Great imagery on that card. You can kind of see the signs in the backdrop. Probably Yankee Stadium. Next we have Doug Corbett. This almost looks like it's spring training. You see all of these back here. I would guess that this was taken during spring training. Next we have Billy Allman. And this is a card that probably needs to be replaced. I might be wrong, but I do think Billy Allman does TTMs. Next, this is another card that'll need to be replaced. Floyd Bannister. This one's got some nice creasing to it, and worn corners and edges. For now, it's just a placeholder, as with this Don Robinson, who was a pretty nice pitcher. Got a nice crease right here. Almost rounded corners and really off center. Next we have John Mayberry. This one is it has a little more corner wear than I like, but I would probably end up keeping this and not replacing it. I think I'd be okay with that one. But if I had a chance to replace it, I definitely would. Next we have Gene Richards. Next we have Gary Woods, and that kind of looks like an airbrush job. Pretty sure it is. Kind of a bad one at that. Next, this one will definitely have to be replaced for one. It's got a ridiculous bow in it. Looks like it's got some staining on the back, and yeah, rough corners, badly centered, poorly centered, I guess. Yeah, but I do like Bump Wheels. He's a nice player. Next we have Doug Rao. This one looks pretty good. Next we have Mike Krukow. I think it's Krukow. But it's got a crease in it. Corners are a little rough, so that'll be replaced. Next we have Rick Peters. Now with all of these sort of starter sets, I am in no hurry to complete these. I look on eBay and Somebody will gladly sell you a single from some of these sets for $1 a pop. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that on ComC either. Even if I can get them for like 50 cents a piece. I'm just going to look for like lots here and there. And I know a lot of people use trading card database to kind of build sets and stuff, and um, that'll be incredibly time consuming. I would prefer not to have to use that, but that might actually be my best option, to build some of these sets, because I can kind of get rid of some of the cards that are, at the very least, are in nice condition, and kind of swap those for some cards that I need. Kind of help multiple people out at the same time. But just logging the cards seems like a really time-consuming thing. So I don't know. I'm sure I'd love it if I actually did. Bobby Gritch, but yeah, you can see all the spider creases in there. Fantastic player. I would argue he should be in the Hall of Fame, or at the very least, he's a very good player. But I wouldn't complain if he was actually in the Hall. Next, we have Dick Davis. That card looks pretty nice. Next, we have Wayne Nordhagen. Next, we have Mike Parrott. And this card will be replaced. Has some creases, corner issues, centering's bad. Next, we have Doug DeCinces. He's a pretty nice player. Card looks pretty good. Next, we have Craig Swan. And I don't see any creases on this one, but the corners are a little rougher than I like. As long as there's no creases, I think I'd be okay with that. Next, we have Rick Sutcliffe. I did enjoy watching him pitch. By the time he got to the Cubs, spent a lot of time watching Cubs games during the day, sort of after I'd get home from school, during the time that Sutcliffe was pitching for him. Nice card. Next, I really like these Future Stars cards. And this is Rafael Ramirez, probably the biggest name on this one. He was a pretty nice player. Next, we have Rich Murray. Got a crease and rough corners, so that'll be replaced. Next, we have Duffy Dyer. It's got bad centering, but I don't see a crease. So I think that'll be all right. I do think Duffy Dyer signs through the mail, though. Next, I know this guy signs through the mail. Jim Kern. And, don't see a crease, but the corners are rough, and that's even rougher than I would be comfortable with, so I'd probably replace this one. Next, we have a few Record Breakers cards, and I'll show the backs of these so you can see what record they broke. 1980, got Bill Gullickson, and he had the most strikeouts in a game during the rookie season, and I believe he was the second pick in the draft in 1977, right before Paul Molitor, Hall of Famer. And before him was sort of newly elected Hall of Famer Harold Baines. So he was kind of sandwiched between a couple Hall of Famers. Next we have Record Breaker, Ron LaFleur, and was that Rodney Scott? Yeah, okay. Ron LaFleur and Rodney Scott. Most stolen bases by teammates in the season. And that's kind of interesting because I believe in 1981, that was the year that Tim Raines stole, 71 stolen bases in 88 games. So this Expos team had to be ridiculously fast. I mean, you're talking about like mid 80s St. Louis Cardinals type fast. I'll have to look into that. That's interesting. Oh, I don't know if I showed the back of that. I do want to show the back of these. So compiled 97 and 63 stolen bases respectively. Wow. And at this point, Lou Brock still had the single season record. I do think Ricky Henderson broke that record in '82, I think it was. Next, we have Pete Rose, most consecutive seasons, 600 or more at bats. Yeah, you don't see that much anymore. And he did it consecutively. Amazing, amazing player. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Next, we have Ozzie Smith, most assists, shortstop in a season. The Wizard of Oz. All right, so I believe that's the last of the record breakers that I have. Next, moving on to a pretty rough Dickie Thon. Creases, multiple places, really bad corners. There's even some surface issues on this one. Rough corners. Centering's bad. Yeah, that's a beater. And next we have Al Holland. Next we have Larry Hissel, I believe. Next we have Rich Hebner. I might be wrong, but I do think he signs through the mail. It's been a while since I kept up to date with the TTMs because I haven't sent any out in several months, so I might be wrong. Next we have Paul Splitorf. This one's got we've got a light crease there and definitely has some rough corners. Next we have Ken Landreau. Great image right there. I love batting cage images for some reason. Next we have Bob Davis. I don't know what's going on there. Wonder if that's part of the image or if that's a surface thing. I think that's part of the image. I don't know what those little white dots are. Otherwise, the card looks pretty good. Next, we have George Orta. Next, we have Roy Lee Jackson. Next, we have Pat Zachary. Next, great image right here, Manny Sanguian. I do believe he signs through the mail, but I think he charges. Fan of Manny Sanguian, so might have to get a couple of his earlier cards and send them off to him, depending on what he's charging. Next, we have Fred Martinez. Next, I believe this was a card from that '80s Stars and Hall of Famers lot that I had. I did pull out some of the cards that were needed for these starter sets, since it doesn't look like I'm going to be selling a lot of those very quickly. So I figured it makes more sense for me to put them in these starter sets than to try to get 50, 75 cents cleared off of eBay for them, because I'll probably spend more than those trying to get them, more than that trying to get them. So just made more sense to put them in here. Next we have George Hendrick. But I am continuously trying to keep my listings at a maximum so I can sell as many of those as possible. But as of this week, I actually sold one card that put me basically break even, pennies over break even. So, to get like 800 cards for, I don't even remember what I paid for it, but, basically everything that I have probably, like 770 cards or something like that, basically for free. That was definitely a great purchase. So next we have Joe Beckwith. And this is a little disappointing. I'm a big fan of Lou Whitaker. And this card's definitely a little rough. Got a corner crease and rough corners. I think there were like 3 or 4 of them that were in this lot, but this is the best looking one. They were all pretty rough. Next we have Mike Ivy. Next we have Willie Guillermo Hernandez, who I believe passed away within the last couple years. Former Cy Young Award winner. Next we have Rick Miller. Next, Chet Lemon. Next we have another Future Stars card, but this one's definitely rough. Tito Landrum's probably the best name on here. Don't see any creases, but those corners are rough. Next we have Ed Figueroa. Next we have Ed Ott. I've never actually looked into it, but I wonder if Ed Ott is related to Mel Ott. Curious to find out. Next we have Glenn Hubbard. Rough corners, but I don't see a crease. I'd probably like to replace this one. He does have a really cool card. I think it was an 84 Fleer where he's got like a boa constrictor like around his neck or something. Really kind of an odd card, but I definitely like it. Would like to add that to my collection someday. Definitely not high on my priority list, but it is a great card, great image. Next we have Joey McLaughlin. This one's definitely got some rough corners and corner bends, and so that'll be replaced. Next, this one doesn't seem to have any creases, but definitely rough corners. Big fan of Gator. Fantastic TTMer. I believe he signs one for free. And got a TTM back from him last year. If I do end up replacing this might be a nice candidate for a TTM or something. It's not horrible, but I do like my corners on my cards a little better than that. That's kind of rough. Next we have Tom Brookins. But with TTMs, some of those cards get beat up in the mail, so kind of makes sense to use kind of a card like that to send out, especially if you already have it. This one says Tom Brookins, definitely has to be replaced. All right, next we have Victor Cruz. Next, I do have this card in my collection, but this one actually came with the starter set, and it was in really nice shape, so just left it in there. We have Mark Littell. Next we have Bombo Rivera. Next, this one's going to need to be replaced. Although most of the time I don't mind a wax stain here and there. The corners on this one with the wax stain. Yeah, that's a little too much. I'll probably have to replace this with Rennie Stinnett. Next we have Joe Price. Next, this one This one's kind of a nice one, although it does have a crease right here. This one does have 3 notable names on it. There's another crease right there. You have Juan Berenguer, Hubie Brooks, and the great Mookie Wilson. It's definitely a fan of Mookie Wilson. That's a great card. Definitely have to get a better copy of that. Even an additional one to have in my collection aside from the set if I build it. Next we have Brian Downing. Spent a season with the Texas Rangers towards the end of his career. Pretty nice player. Next we have Jim Norris. It's got a crease in it and rough corners. That'll be replaced. Next we have John Candelaria, the Candyman. I believe, is this Don's favorite player? I know he likes the Candyman, but I'm not sure which Candyman. There are a couple of them. I think he might like John Candelaria, though. This card looks to be in pretty nice shape. Next we have Tommy Herr. Pretty nice player, although this has rough corners. Might be okay, I guess. Next, this one's definitely rough. You can see that crease. Stan Bonson, I believe. Looks like another spring training shot there. All right, next we have Bill Castro. This one definitely has a crease in it. I have to replace that. Next we have Stan Pappy. One or the other. I don't see a crease, but there's a nasty ding in that edge right there. In the center is pretty rough. Maybe I'll replace this. Next we have Dan Spillner. This one's got some surface issues and rough corners. And a bend right there. That'll be replaced. Next we have Alfredo Griffin. And this one's a beater. Look at that. Wow. Kind of in between well loved and used and abused. Next we have Ken Griffey. This one looks pretty nice. Next we have Fred Stanley. Rough corners, but then top ones don't look too bad. Next we have Billy Sample, and I know ETTMs because I got him back last year, and he actually included an article that he signed as well, which was very nice of him to do that, and even answer my questions. So definitely appreciate him taking the time to do that. Next we have Brian Kingman. I have a handful of cards left in this stack, and when I get to the end, I'm going to get a drink of soda I have next to me. Next, we have Jerry Turner. Next, this one's kind of rough. We have Dave Frost. It's got some creases, rough corners. Next, we have Len Sakata. This one's got rough corners as well, and nice little bend right there. Next we have Bob Clark. This one seems to be alright. Great mountain in the background. That's probably spring training as well. Next we have Mickey Hatcher. Former manager as well. Was a key player on that 88 Dodgers team. Won the championship. Next we have Bob Boone. I did get a TTM back from him last year as well. Really nice catcher. I think catcher is highly underrepresented in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Bob Boone is Hall worthy, but he was definitely a great catcher, and I do think there are some amazing catchers that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that are not. Next, we have Aurelio Lopez. Next, we have Mike Squires. I think there might be a little bend there. I'll have to get a better look at that. Next, we have Charlie Lee. Next, we have Mike Tyson. Next, we have Bill Naharadny. Hopefully, I got that right. Next, this one's definitely rough. Buddy Solomon. Surface issues, really rough corners, creases. That's a beater. And this was another card that was in the 80 Stars and Hall of Famer slot. Paul Molitor. A little off center, but not too bad. All right, let me grab a drink real quick. That was actually card 300 as well, so that's good timing. All right, so whatever I have of this next group, up to 400, will be the stopping point for this video. Let me move this stack right here out of the way. All right. So next we have Matt Keogh. This is definitely a great card. And unfortunately, it's got some rough corners. Definitely going to have to replace this, but I always liked this card. Had it multiple times as a kid. Did not have it anymore, but Fernando Valenzuela, Mike Scioscia. Fernando Valenzuela, Fernando Mania, man. I was too young to know what was going on, but that was an amazing time in baseball, I'm sure. Especially if you were a fan of the Dodgers. He was basically everywhere. Next, John Castino. Got a little bit of a wax stain right there. Otherwise, it's okay. I guess that would be okay to keep. Next, we have Ken Clay. It does have a little bit too much corner wear in the center. He's kind of bad, so I'll probably replace that. Next, this one's definitely rough. A lot of surface issues right there. Almost paper loss. Corners are rough. Ding corner. Crease in the corner. Alright, next, this was another that was included in the lot, Vita Blue. Although I think I had a couple of these in the Stars and Hall of Famers lot as well. This one looks really nicely centered. Super sharp. Next we have Luis Pujols. Looks pretty good. Great image right there. Next we have Rich Dower. He's got some creasing. Rough corners. Another crease there. Yeah, that's pretty rough. It looks like might even have a pinhole right there. next. There were actually several of these in this starter lot, but I ended up using one of the ones that I got in the Stars and Hall of Famers lot because basically all of them that were included in this one were beat up. And even this one, the centering's really rough. So I might have 5 Kirk Gibson rookie cards. None of them I'm really happy with. So we'll still probably have to replace that. Next we have Lonnie Smith. Nice player. Enjoyed watching him on TBS with the Braves in the 90s. But this one's really rough. Gonna have to replace that. Next we have Steve Yeager. It's a great image right there. Although it's kind of fuzzy right here. Next we have Tom Bergmeyer. Next, was always a fan of Leon Durham. And I think he was in a baseball movie in the 90s. Was it Little Big League or something? I don't remember. But I believe that Leon Durham acted in a baseball movie. Just don't remember which one. But this has got creases in it, corner wear. And this is his rookie card, I believe. And when I first started collecting in '86, I think he was a Cub. And I had a friend down the street, the same friend that got me into football with the '85 Bears and stuff. He had come from Chicago, and so he was a big Cubs fan. And Leon Durham was on that team, so I remember specifically picking up quite a few of his cards in the early days of me collecting. Next we have Neil Allen. And I'm not sure what year it actually took place, but there was a 30 for 30 that came out probably 10 or more years ago now called Silly Little Game, where it was talking about rotisserie baseball and basically the creation of it. And I believe the player that won the championship, part of the reason they won the championship was snagging Neil Allen early in his career. And apparently he had a fantastic year out of nowhere. So anytime I see one of his cards, I kind of think of that documentary. And it's a great documentary, especially if you're into kind of the fantasy sports. With me, I've played fantasy baseball, but I don't do it regularly. I'm more of a fantasy football guy. Next, we have Jim Morrison. Next, Moose Haas. And I think that looks okay, although the bottom 2 corners are, actually that corner's pretty rough too. That one's not bad. Probably replace this though. Seems like there's some surface wear on it as well. Next, we have Frank White. Nice player. Next, I believe I have this card autographed. I got it in a trade with Adam's Card Closet. We swapped duplicate autographs, and I believe this is one of the cards that I have autographed. Definitely a great stash right there. Next, we have Lee Lacy. Next, I believe this card is signed as well. Dane Orge, I think is how you say it. But yeah, I think this was another card I got from Adam. Signed. Definitely a nice TTMer, him and his brother, from what I understand. Next, we have Rick Cerrone. He's got some scratches on his face right there. Almost like it fell on some concrete or something, and definitely has rough corners. Next, I have a checklist. Love getting checklists. Especially when they're unmarked. Next we have John Ellis. Next we have Eric Rasmussen. And this one's definitely rough. Got a crease right through there too. We'll have to replace that one. Next, this one's definitely rough as well. Got some bends and creases. Byron McLaughlin. Next we have Larry Christensen. This one's got some rough corners as well. Probably have to be replaced. Next we have Bob Sykes. Next, this one will probably be replaced. Glenn Hoffman, pretty nice player. Those corners are rough. Next, another fantastic stash. Look at that, Dick Tidrow. Next we have Terry Kennedy. Next we have Mario Soto. Yeah, the corners are probably a little too rough on this one. Next we have Jim Slayton. And this one will definitely have to be replaced. Surface issues, corners, rough. Yeah. All right, next we have Willie Wilson. Nice player. Played for quite a while too. Next we have Joe Strain. That's really rough. Gonna have to replace that one. Next we have Greg Nettles. Longtime player. Probably not a Hall of Famer, but step below Hall of Very Good, if not in the Hall of Very Good. Was definitely a nice player for quite a number of years. Great image right there too. Next we have Leon Roberts. Next we have Frank Tanana. And that one will probably have to be replaced, but this might be a nice candidate for a TTM. Frank Tanana is a fantastic signer. I know A Surfer has had some success with Frank Tanana, but I haven't sent to him as of yet. I do have a couple of his autographs. I think I might have got, I know I got one from Jay Pylon. I'm not sure if I got the other from Adam or not. I think I have this card signed as well. And Charlie Huff is one of the best signers out there. Longtime Ranger, knuckleball pitcher. Knuckleball pitchers are kind of dying off. You don't see them anymore. But I've always been a fan of the pitch. And hopefully we haven't really seen the last of those. Next we have Jay Johnstone. Next we have Pat Underwood. Next we have Tom Hutton. I remember getting this card in a one of the, what do they call them, the blister variety packs that they used to sell in supermarkets in the 80s. One of the cards that I got was, in fact, it might have been the cover card, was this Tom Hutton. Next we have Dave Concepcion, who I would argue belongs in the Hall of Fame. Fantastic player, multiple time world champion, multiple time All-Star. Fantastic player. Great looking card too. Alright, just a few more left, probably maybe a little more than 10. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video tonight. It's a little longer than I was wanting it to be. You know, I'd like to keep my videos closer to an hour than an hour and a half, but yeah, I also wanted to kind of catch up on the 81 starter set a bit. So next we have Ron Reed, and I might have rambled a little bit tonight. Next we have Jerry Morales. but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Next we have Dave Rader. A little bit of corner wear. Might have to replace that one. Next we have Larry Sorensen. Next, I'm not sure which one of these guys had the better career. I've definitely heard of Carlos Lescano, but not sure he had a very productive career. The card looks to be in nice shape. Next we have Paul Marabella. Next, Eric Soderholm. Next we have Joe Sambito. Next we have Dave Edwards, and this is almost a complete miscut. But it's fairly sharp. Guess I'm okay with it. Don't want too many in the set looking like that though. Next we have Andre Thornton. Next we have Cesar Geronimo. This one will definitely need to be replaced. Pretty nice player though. Another great stash, Dave Lemancic. Pretty nice looking card. Alright, looks like 3 more maybe. Next we have Broderick Perkins. Woody Fryman. And the last card I'll be showing tonight, Julio Cruz. Another great batting cage shot. Alright, so that is through card number 100. This was actually 397. I think the next card I have is like 402 or something. But that's through the first 400 cards of the set. So hopefully I can get to through the rest of the starter set next week, because I still have several other starter sets that I'd like to show, but I don't know. I have a couple things that I have ordered, and it'll really depend on if some of those arrive in time or not. But I should be able to get through the rest of that set next week. So anyway, hopefully everybody enjoyed the video tonight. And again, I want to thank everybody who showed up to my premiere this morning. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you enjoyed the Spine Ticks after party. Appreciate everybody's support. Y'all are absolutely amazing. And until next week, thanks for watching the video, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.